I told you guys. If you watch my first video on my predictions of the Champions League round of 16, I told you guys that there would be awesome games, that we were in for a treat, and that's exactly what happened. Guys, it's me, Josh, again here on Crespo FC. Thank you guys so much. I'm honestly very overwhelmed with all the positive support, comments, and everything that I've been getting. Didn't really expect, obviously it's not crazy numbers. We're only at 27 subscribers, but obviously after 2 videos to have 27 subscribers, I'm beyond happy with that. And I hope I'm building a good foundation to keep going. So guys, if you can please help me, please like the video, please share it with your friends, please subscribe if you're not already subscribed, leave your comments down below. Anything that you guys are doing to support, it's free, it doesn't cost anything, but it helps me a lot. Right now, again, we're at 27 subscribers, so let's try to go for that 50 subscriber mark, and I'll be really happy if we can reach 50 subscribers by the end of the month of March. So let's try to hit that goal. But let's get right into the thing that we want to hear all about: what happened in the first leg of the Champions League round of 16. And just as I had predicted and said, it had been a while since I was this excited for a Champions League round of 16. I thought there was just so many good matchups, and they did not disappoint. I don't think there was any boring games. All of the games were packed with goals and actions and different storylines. And although maybe some games weren't as exciting as others, we'll get to which ones I think weren't as excited, even those games still had their significant events in them. And so the first game I want to talk about was the early game on Tuesday, which was Liverpool visiting Galatasaray in Istanbul, and Galatasaray won that match 1-0. Now, that's kind of what I expected to happen. Obviously, I picked Liverpool to go through in the tie, and I still do believe that. I think that even though they failed to get the result in Istanbul, they will be able to get that result back at Anfield. I think Liverpool are very strong at Anfield, regardless of how poor and how topsy-turvy their form has been this season. They will, in my opinion, make it through. And Galatasaray are no strangers to doing what they did. They did the same thing against Juventus in the playoff. They played an amazing game at home. They won the game 5-2, brought a 3-goal advantage going back to Torino in the second leg. And with Juventus playing with a man down after Lloyd Kelly got a red card, an unjust red card, Juventus came back 3-0 and brought the game into overtime, which obviously Galatasaray ended up going through, but still, Galatasaray plays very good at home and they played very poorly away. And no surprises, that happened here. They won at home, but it was a very, very, very slim win. Some people might say, maybe they deserved a little bit more. Liverpool started off better in the game, but weren't able to capitalize, and then Galatasaray scores and possibly could have scored some more. They had a goal disallowed. But I think there was no surprises. For those people that have followed Galatasaray or watch this channel and listen to what I say, you guys would have known that they were going to do very well in that first leg. It's very hard for someone to go in there and get a win. Now, obviously, there are some teams that I think could do it. I think Bayern Munich could do it. I think a full-strength Real Madrid, a PSG. I think there are teams that could go into Turkey. It's not to say that they can never lose there, but again, they're very, very strong. So they, 1-0, slim win. They got what they could, and they're going to try to keep hold of that advantage to go through. I just personally do not think it's going to happen. And to get into some of the more eventful games that happened on that Tuesday, Newcastle hosting Barcelona. Now, this is one of the games that I was watching, and I was like, this game's a little underwhelming. Oh my gosh, 0-0, 0-0, 0-0, up until literally right at the end when we got treated to 2 goals. And Newcastle, man, Newcastle just played a game. They played a game. They did very, very well. They did not let Lamine Yamal play. I think that was one of the biggest storylines of this game. Lamine Yamal, this is an actual stat. He did not complete an entire dribble the entire game. The king of dribbling, the guy who in my last video I said is the best player in the world, did not complete one dribble the entire game. Now that's insane. And that's also huge credit to Lewis Hall, Newcastle starting left back. And hey, Chelsea must be regretting so much that they let this guy go. Obviously, they do have Cucurella there, but honestly, he's so much younger and he's already showing so much potential. He was able to literally quiet down and pocket Lamine Yamal the entire game, which is unheard of. And Barca played with their starting front three. They had Rafinha, Lewandowski, and Lamine Yamal, who haven't played much together this year because of injuries and different things. And they just couldn't get it done. They could not get it done. Newcastle was good, and plaudits to Joelinton and Tonali, who played an amazing game at the center of the park for Newcastle. And the only question I have asking here is, when is Tonali going to make his move? I'm sorry to Newcastle. This is no offense to you as a club, to your fans or anything, but Sandro Tonali is too good to be playing at Newcastle. He is a world-class center midfielder. He makes the game look easy, and honestly, there aren't many teams in the world, if any. I haven't really stopped to think about it, but I doubt there's many teams in the world that he wouldn't be a starter for. And I think that performances like he pulled off on Tuesday at St. James Park are the type of performances that people are going to be looking at and saying, we need to sign this guy. We need to sign him. And hopefully, I say hopefully because I do hope for him as a player that he can make that next step. And just as a prediction as well, I don't think he's going to last past this season. I think this summer after the World Cup, whether Italy is or is not in the World Cup, because till this day right now, this exact moment when this video is being released, Italy are not qualified. And so regardless of that, I think he's going to make that jump to a bigger club. I guess we'll just have to wait and see if maybe he goes back to Italy, maybe if he goes to Spain, or if he stays in the Premier League. And as the game's going on, Newcastle is just fighting, and they're trying to get a goal, but it's just not happening. It's not happening. And in Portuguese, we have a saying. It doesn't really translate well, but I don't know if you guys have ever seen at the beaches. I know when I went to Portugal, they do have that a lot. It's these big rocks, and the waves just keep hitting on them and hitting on them and hitting on them and hitting on them. And obviously, the waves is not going to break the rocks, but eventually after time, with the water hitting that rock so many times, it starts eating away at it. And eventually, there's going to be some damage done. And so the saying in Portuguese is that basically if you keep hitting on something enough times, it's going to eventually break. And that's what happened in this game. Barcelona could not play out of the back. They could not play on the front foot. And Newcastle was pressuring them until eventually a cross comes. Harvey Barnes finishes. I thought Johan Garcia actually did pretty poorly on that, but I won't criticize him too much because he had also some amazing saves in the first half to keep the score at 0-0. And Newcastle is living the dream. They're living the dream. They literally think that they just pulled away a result, and they're bringing back a slim advantage to the new Camp Nou, whichever way you want to say it. I don't know which one is correct, actually. And that's happening. It's going on. The game's about to end. Then all of a sudden, Dani Olmo, who came in the second half, makes an amazing move inside the box, and wins a penalty. And who steps up? Lamine Yamal, who has been quiet the entire game, hasn't been able to produce anything, but he steps up, calm, coolly, slots away the penalty. And honestly, Barcelona did not deserve it. Barcelona did not, by any chance, they did not deserve to get that tie, but they did. And that's football. That's football. That's what happens in football. Sometimes you don't deserve to win a game or tie a game or get anything out of the game, and you do. And sometimes you play very well and you win. Sometimes you don't. It just all really depends. And Barcelona were lucky to get away with that, but I think that last minute penalty is really what makes the difference. I suspect, again, I predicted Barca is going to go through, and I think at the Camp Nou that they're going to play. They're going to play differently, and they're going to walk away with a pretty comfortable result, in my opinion. The next two games that happened on Tuesday are games that were the most lopsided games. We're talking about Bayern versus Atalanta, 6-1. For Bayern Munich. And honestly, I was surprised by this result, not because I don't think Bayern is an amazing team. Of course, I picked them to go through against Atalanta. However, with that being said, I think Atalanta is a good team. I think they're a very organized team, very structured team. And I do like their coach, Raffaele Palladino. And I didn't think they would roll over the way they did. I didn't think that they would let it be so easy. I thought that they would try to fight to bring a tie. I was chatting with some of my friends in a group chat, and that's what I actually ended up predicting. I was like, I think Atalanta will walk away today with a tie. Obviously, they're not going to go through, but I think they'll give it their max playing at home in front of their fans. And the impressions that I got watching this game, the first goal, they were just sleeping on the corner kick, and they started getting the goals piled on them, and I thought they were scared. I thought they looked scared. I thought they were they couldn't rise to the moment. They looked like deer in headlights. And again, as surprised as I was, Bayern showed their dominance. And that's without Harry Kane. Harry Kane did not play this game. Manuel Neuer did not play this game. They just did not have the full strength squad, and they still got the job done with such ease. And Bayern is such a scary team. They're such a scary team. Honestly, who left in the Champions League can beat this Bayern team? who. And they got a little regen of Iron Robin and Michael Olise, who is literally playing out on the right and cutting inside to his left the same way Robin did. You know it's going to happen, but you just can't defend it because he's so good. I don't know the exact number here, but I'm pretty sure he has over 40 goal contributions this season. Bayern are going to win the league. They're going to win the domestic cup. Who knows if they win the Champions League? I think they're one of the front runners. And France in the World Cup is obviously going to have an amazing opportunity. And I've been seeing some people post on Instagram. I've seen some other content creators say in their videos that Olise is Ballon d'Or bound. And honestly, I think at least at this point he has to be put into that conversation. And from one route to the other, we moved from Bergamo over to the Spanish capital, Madrid, at the Wanda Metropolitano. Now I think it's called the Riyadh Metropolitano because of the sponsorship. And wow, Spurs go down 3-0 in the first 20 minutes of the game. Kinski starts the game. What a decision by Igor Tudor. The Spurs fans are sick of Vicario, but Kinski is so inexperienced, and he gets put in that game, and he gives away the first goal. Mistake on his. Second goal, Van de Ven slips. Easy goal for Griezmann. And then the third goal comes, Julian Alvarez on another huge mistake for Kinski. And he gets subbed off. Within the 20 minutes, Atletico Madrid go up 3-0. Kinski is directly responsible for 2 of those goals. And Van de Ven, again, just a huge miss up on that second goal. And he takes him off and puts on Vicario. I'm sorry, but I don't know. You can argue and you can say that you got to take him off because if you keep him in, the goalie position is a huge mental game. It's a huge mental game. If you're not right, he can give up so many more goals. But you absolutely killed the guy. You gave him a vote of confidence. You put him in the game, and then you take him out and you kill him. Mentally, he's done. I don't know. I hope for him. I feel for him. I'm not even going to sit here and say that he's a good goalie. I don't know. I've never really seen him play. But I hope he can recover from that because he's going to be scarred. Although, now that I'm thinking about it, Zvilar, who's the current goalie at Roma, also had a nightmare of a I don't know if it was his Champions League debut, but of a performance in the Champions League when he played for Benfica. I'm pretty sure it was against Bayern Munich, and it was just awful. And now he's one of the best goalies in the Serie A, especially last season. He did amazing. So who knows? Hopefully we can see that arc, that Kinski redemption arc. But to talk more about the game, it was over in the first 20 minutes. It was literally over, and there were just scenes there. Atletico Madrid fans were making I don't know if it was sandwiches, hot dogs, or whatever it is. They were literally making it in the stands. Happy-go-lucky, they're ready. Again, within 20 minutes, they know that the tie is over. Not even just the game, the whole tie is over. And then they tack on more goals. The game ends 5-2. But honestly, Spurs were never in it. And I think we're seeing a pretty big version here of the new Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid is no longer that team that is defending, gritty. Obviously, Simeone still has that in him. Obviously, Simeone still believes in those principles, but it's a different team. They're building a new team. And if you guys haven't seen, there's a content creator that I love. His name is Adrian. His channel is called Rabona TV. He did a video on the new look Atletico Madrid, and he was talking about how there's a new ownership. The new ownership is looking to invest so much money. They're building a new training center right next to the Metropolitano, and they're looking to pump money into the squad and build a team that can go up against, obviously, their main rivals, Real Madrid, because they want to win European Cups. They want to win more La Ligas. And so if you're interested, check that out. It's a great video, and I love his content, and it's true. This is the new look Atletico Madrid. It's a team that is going to score 5 goals, and they'll get scored on twice. They're no longer that team that's like, we're going to win 1-0 and just park the bus. No, it's different. They're open. They're attacking. They're always looking for more. They're relentless. And I think if there is a dark horse in this Champions League, that's a team that people don't expect to win, but who could maybe pull it off, I think that team is Atletico. I really do think that team is Atletico. And again, both of those ties, Bayern, Atalanta, and Atletico and Spurs, the tie was decided in the first match. And, obviously Newcastle and Barca is still wide open, Galatasaray and Liverpool still wide open, but those 2 games are game, set, and match. And so moving on from the games from Tuesday onto the games that happened on Wednesday, we had the earlier game, Arsenal versus Bayer Leverkusen. And this was another one of those ties where everybody said, you know what? Arsenal had a very favorable tie. Arsenal's on the good side of the bracket, and Arsenal played awful. They played awful. And Bayer Leverkusen went up 1-0 in this game, and the Arsenal, that is what they call themselves, but Arsenal had to be saved by an 89th minute penalty by who? Kai Havertz, who used to play for Bayer Leverkusen. And again, in Brazil, we have something that we call a lei do ex. It's basically the X law. So it's whenever someone plays against a team that they used to play for, they always score. That's the joke. And so a lei do ex happened in the Champions League, and Kai Havertz scores, puts away. It was a penalty, put it away pretty calmly, and not much to say about that game. Very uneventful game. Obviously Arsenal rescued themselves to bring a draw back to the Emirates. And honestly, even if they did lose that game, again, they're still going to go through. But I think the big thing here is Arsenal are becoming pretty underwhelming. I think that in the Premier League, they've been getting away with it. So many people have been criticizing them. Oh, they only score off corners. They only do this. They only do that. They don't play beautiful football. They don't do this. And they're not a team that oh my gosh, I want to watch Arsenal because of how good they are. It's not really a thing. And they've been getting away with it again in the Premier League. But I don't know. There's a lot of people that say that Arsenal got the easy side and this and that. And I obviously don't want to predict too far ahead, because obviously I need to save that content to make later. But I do think that Arsenal, their luck, they're counting, and their luck might just be running out. And Premier League is one thing, Champions League is another thing. And I think if Arteta and the squad, the team doesn't really revamp something for this final stretch of the season, they'll get by Leverkusen. And obviously the next team they'd play is either Bodø or Sporting. But who knows? I don't see them having long life in the Champions League if they keep up these underwhelming performances. And so from one game that was, again, I said all of the games are good, but still, again, a last-minute penalty. Same thing with Barcelona. Not the best game, but a last-minute penalty. Turn of events happened in both of them. But moving on to a more exciting game, Real Madrid versus Manchester City. The gift that just keeps on giving. The game that we cannot walk away from. The game that we're always seeing. And wow. Absolutely ruining my predictions. Absolutely ruining my predictions. I thought City were going to go through. And not to say that they can't. This is football. We've seen crazier things happen before. Like the remontada at the Camp Nou. Barcelona versus PSG. I don't see it happening again. And Federico Valverde. Oh my God, what a player. What a player. And one of the crazy stats about this game is, up until this game, Valverde had 3 goals in the Champions League in his career. So he doubled his UCL goal tally from 3 to 6 in a matter of, 20? Whatever, in a matter of 45 minutes, because it was less. But in the first half, he scored 3 goals. And the third goal, oh my gosh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. He takes the ball, he flicks it over Marquet, and he puts it away. That was just, it was beautiful. It was beautiful technique. And honestly, Valverde is one of the best midfielders in the world. I was talking about Tonali earlier. Valverde can do everything. He can score goals. He has a power shot. He runs up and down the pitch the entire game. He's an engine. There's nothing that he can't do. He defends well. He attacks well. Stamina, strength, again, shooting, passing. He's just everything. He's the famous tuttocampista. He does everything. And I mean, Guardiola will be scratching his head trying to figure out what to do, going back to the Etihad in that second game. But honestly, I'm not going to say it's done. I'm not, because also another big storyline here was Vinicius Jr. missing a penalty. He tried to do the little Jorginho step, and Donnarumma saved the penalty. And as soon as that happened, I was like, oh, maybe this is a lifeline for City, because Donnarumma saves that penalty. Maybe the momentum of the game shifts and they can get a goal back. 3-1 is not 3-0. Who knows? But City couldn't really get themselves going at all in this game. And 3-0. And that's really tough for them. Really tough for them. I think that Real Madrid ruined my bracket. There's another team I'll talk about in a little bit that ruined my bracket as well. But they yeah, I'm kind of at a loss for words, because I look dumb because I bet against Real Madrid. So anyone, bet against Real Madrid at your own peril. Obviously, I know that Real Madrid is a team in the Champions League that can always, even if they're not good, they can always get something out of nothing. I just thought that Mbappe didn't play this game. They had Arda Güler as technically their, obviously wasn't playing that far up, but he was technically their striker this game. You know, Rodrigo is out. They had Bellingham is out. They had so many people out this game. So many people out. And Mendy, the left back, Ferland Mendy gets hurt and he has to be subbed off. And then Fran Garcia goes in. It was just such a depleted squad. But they made it happen, and that's the magic of the Bernabeu. That's the magic of Real Madrid in the Champions League. I still don't think they have what it takes to go on and win this competition. I think there are just too many flaws in their team. And again, so many different injuries. Yeah, can they make me look like an idiot again? Yeah, of course they could. But if they go past this round, they're going to be playing against Bayern, and Bayern is just, that would be a great game. That would be a great game. Moving on from Madrid, going over to Paris, the Parc des Princes, and this was an awesome game. 5-2 as well, in favor of PSG. And I think this, from a neutral standpoint, if we're analyzing just from a neutral standpoint, I think this was probably the best game in this first leg round of the round of 16, because it was a back and forth game. Dembele scores an amazing goal off the counter. It was counter-attacking masterclass, and PSG go up 1-0, and then Malo Gusto ties the game up. PSG go up again, Chelsea tie, and then what happens is Kvaratskhelia. Oh man, this is what I was saying in my predictions. PSG have too much firepower. PSG are not the same PSG of last year. They're not. They're also going through a lot of injuries. Their starting midfield last year, which was Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz, and João Neves, they're not playing together. Fabian Ruiz is hurt. João Neves was also hurt. He came back. He played in this game, and what a difference he makes in the midfield. What a baller. Super underrated. I feel like he's not talked about enough, but he is class. And again, I'm talking about Valverde. I'm talking about João Neves. I'm talking about Tonali. Just the show of the number 8s in terms of the position, because João Neves wears 87, I think. But the show of the number 8s, those center midfielders, across all different games, João Neves makes a huge difference. He came back, he got the assist for the second PSG goal to put them ahead. And PSG just has too much firepower. That's what it is. They started this game with Dembele and Doué, and brain fart here of who the other play. Oh, and Barcola. There we go. And Barcola. That was their front three. That's already an amazing front three. And you have Kvaratskhelia on the bench. I love saying his name, by the way, just to show off that I know how to pronounce it. Like, when you have a player of that level on the bench, he goes on in the second half and he scores 2 goals. And a lot of the Chelsea content creators that I follow, Rory Jennings, and Matisse, they're talking about how Chelsea self-imploded, that Chelsea gave the game away and this and that. And okay, I'm not taking any merit away from that, but did you see the goal he scored? Did you see the goal he scored? That's the difference. Chelsea look at the bench. Liam Rosenior, he looks at the bench, and who am I going to pick? They're such a naive team. And so even though they were able to tie up the game twice, Enzo Fernandez scored the second goal for them, making a late run into the box. It was a great goal. I rate Enzo a lot as well. Oh, I guess I just love number 8s because I'm talking about one again. But Chelsea, they're too young. They're too naive. I think they have a good core, but I feel like they need a little bit more of leadership. I think that obviously Chelsea's board doesn't want to do this. They only want to buy young players with resale value, and I think that's awful. But where's the Thiago Silva, you know? Reece James is their captain, and Reece James is awesome, obviously, but where's the Frank Lampard? Where's the Michael Ballack? Where's the Makaleli? Where, again, is the Thiago Silva who recently left? Where's the Drogba? Where is the John Terry? Where's that leader? Where's that guy that's, like, gonna be the role model for this young Chelsea team? Even their coach is young. So they're going to go through their hiccups. Obviously, as this team gets older, yeah, okay, then I guess you can say, okay, now we're experienced, we're playing the long game. But I think there are interesting pieces in Chelsea. Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, Cole Palmer, João Pedro is turning into a lights-out number 9. Reece James, you know, there's so many things there that they could be a team that really pushes on to win silverware, but they're just lacking that extra push, that extra oomph. And I think if the board really went out there and was like, okay, let's bring in a leader, let's bring in a bit of a veteran here, I think it's something that they could do. But before I move on to the last game, another thing that I need to comment about this game here The goalies, the goalies. And this was one of the biggest things to me. I think in the last match, Real Madrid versus Manchester City, you see a battle of two giants, two of the best shot stoppers in world football. Courtois on one side, Donnarumma on the other side. They're not the most consistent goalies in that they're, Donnarumma can sometimes be a little mistake prone. But in terms of just pure shot stopping, I think those are the two best goalies in the world. Again, in terms of just pure shot stopping. And what a difference having a goalie like that makes on your team. Both PSG and Chelsea have no viable goalkeeper option. And I'm watching that game and I see Safonov, I believe that's how you pronounce it, the Russian goalie from PSG. The first goal that Malagusto scores, oh my God, oh my days. What an ugly goal. What an ugly goal. He needs to be saving that. And I'm scratching my head. I'm like, you have Donnarumma. Look at what Donnarumma did for you in that Champions League run. Why in the world did PSG get rid of him? As much as we praise Luis Enrique as one of the best coaches in the world, and he is, you got to put that on him. Unless he's like, no, keep him, and the board was like, we want to sell him. It made no sense. They bought the goalie from Lucas Chevalier from Lille, I believe. He's not even starting. Safonov is playing. They have no viable number one option. What in the world did you do? If they had Donnarumma still, I'd be like, okay, I think ultimately that's what's going to cost PSG. I think what's going to cost PSG is that you just don't have a good enough goalie to win the Champions League. And you look on the flip side for Chelsea, it's the same thing. Robert Sanchez is not good enough. Philip Jorgensen, I just don't think they're good enough to be the number one goalie on a team that wants to win the Champions League or win the Premier League. And Jorgensen gave up a goal too. Gave up a goal. The young Premier League goalies wearing orange kits, as I stole that one from Rory Jennings, they didn't do well. Jorgensen made a mistake, gave the ball away for the third goal with Vitinha, which was awesome. Little goal, he just steals it. Jorgensen makes a bad pass. The ball's up in the air, and Vitinha just nice little chip to make the game 3-2 before Kvaratskhelia puts the dagger in with the fourth and the fifth goal. And why did they not go and buy Donnarumma? Again, it's what I'm talking about. They only want to buy young people. They only want to buy young players with resale value, whatever. Donnarumma, I think right now, he's actually younger than me. So I think he's 26 or maybe the same age as me. Yeah, I think he's the same age as me. So I think he's 27 now. And why did Chelsea not go out and buy him? Why did PSG let him go on one side? And if PSG are going to be dumb enough to let him go, why didn't Chelsea go out and buy him? It makes no sense. They needed a goalie. And I mean, he landed in Manchester City's lap. Good for them. But I think that the lack of goalkeeper quality in this match is another huge talking point. And it's going to be a downfall for both of their teams. And last but not least, to wrap this video up, Bodø versus Sporting. This is the other one, my other bracket killers. Bodø at home, 3-0. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? When are they going to stop? When is the fairy tale, the Cinderella story, going to die? We're in March right now. I live in the United States. March Madness, college basketball, huge here in the U.S. And there's always the Cinderella stories of the small schools, the schools that don't really have tradition, the schools that aren't UNC, that aren't Duke. I don't watch too much college basketball, but I know Duke is very good. I'm trying to think of someone else that's a good school. Kentucky. Yeah, I don't know anything about college basketball, but whatever. The big schools, there's always the Cinderella stories. And Bodø Glimt got one going on right now. They got one going on right now. And my friend Marcus, I was chatting with him recently about this. And I told him, I was like, man, I don't think this is tactical. I don't think that they're putting this awesome game plan. I don't think they're putting together this tactical masterclass that's causing them to win. I think they're just riding a high wave. That's not to say that they're not doing well. Obviously, they do have good link-up play. You can see that in the second goal that they scored. But I just think that they're living it. They're loving the moment. They're a little fresh because the Norwegian League hasn't even started. They were in their preseason, so they're a little fresher than the other teams. And they're getting these wins. They beat Manchester City, then they beat Inter Milan, and they're feeling them. They're feeling good. And another thing is the city itself are really, getting behind them. The vibes, I guess you could say, the vibes, the energy is just really up there in the city. They feel like they're being backed. They feel like the city is hugging them, supporting them. And so I think they're riding that wave of positivity, and they're just gonna ride it out until, again, they're not gonna win the Champions League, definitely not. But they're riding the wave. They're riding a wave. I didn't watch too much of this game. I saw the highlights, but I was surprised. Again, I said that I think Sporting is a very good team. They're playing very well in the Portuguese league, doing very well domestically, and even in the Champions League. They qualified in the top 8 as a Portuguese team. Benfica didn't do that. And Benfica is a team that spends a lot more money than Sporting. And so I expected them to finally put an end to this story, but I guess I'm just going to have to bite my tongue, see my bracket get ruined, and yeah, they'll probably go through. They're going to go back to Lisbon at the Stadio José Alvalade, and Sporting probably will win that match, but they're not going to win it by a 4 goal margin. I don't think they'll even bring it into overtime with 3 goals. They'll probably win 1-0, 2-1, something like that. And Bodø will keep the Cinderella story going. So again, guys, thank you so much for watching. This video is a little longer than usual. Obviously, there was 8 games to talk about. But again, thank you guys so much for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Catch you later.